Tuesday, everybody. Tuesday. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Whiskey Knows special edition. We have a freaking legend with us tonight, Greg Metze from Old Elk. I can't believe this is happening for somebody like me, man. This is just going to be so much fun. I've got questions ready. Guys in the chat, get your questions ready. We'll try to get to them as quick as we can. I don't want to leave the man in the background any longer. Let's get him up here. Guys, welcome Greg Metze.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, man. Loud and clear.
Right. Excellent. Hey, yeah. been looking forward to this.
Yeah. You know, I just, like I said, Greg, we've had some scheduling issues and everybody has been waiting and now it's finally happened. I'm so excited. I got to sit on my hands so I don't wave at everybody. So, you know, here we go.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
But yeah, man, thanks for doing this with us. Like I said, guys in the chat, we'll try to get to your questions if you got any questions for Greg. And but let's just get the party started, man. Let's just get the party started. So, Greg, I think I've got the number pretty close. So 45 years you've been in this business.
Yes, sir. I started in June of 1978, if you can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I was 4, so you had at least some bourbon aging by the time I was, you know, around. So, but now 38 of those, were those at Seagram's MGP?
They were,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent 24 years under the Seagram umbrella, and I spent 38 years at the Lawrenceburg, Indiana distillery.
Right.
The first 24 of those was under the Seagram brands and the Seagram umbrella. And that's actually during that 24-year period when I actually, unbeknownst to me, when I joined Seagram's in '78, got the best training in the world relative to becoming a master distiller.
Yeah.
And that they had a training program really that lasted for as long as you worked for them. And as it was, Seagram's got out of the business entirely in 2002. Mm-hmm. And sold all their brands to Pernod and Diageo. So I was fortunate to get 24 years of their training program. And sadly, I'm the last master distiller to have been trained in that program. So a little sadness there, I guess, if you will. But
well, I mean, you know, there's a fine line between a master distiller and a somebody that runs a distillery. You know, I think years of experience have to be proven. It's almost like a doctorate. I think, you know, it's earned. And I think with your background and everything and the years of experience and everything that all of us have tasted from you and for so many years, buddy, I'm just going to tell you, you've earned that title.
Well,
so it's something that you know, a lot of people in the YouTube world, we talk about it, that, you know, are they capable of being a master distiller and stuff? And for me, yeah, that's been, you done blew that out of the water, you know, I guess probably 38 years ago. So, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, you know, how relationships and everything that you build in the industry have really led to where you are now. And, yes. And, you know, like, I'm going to throw a name out there, Kurt Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can talk a little bit about that relationship, and, you know, that kind of leads to where we are now. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun, putting the ship up a little bit, but I think that's a pretty interesting story.
No, it really really gave me the opportunity to do things that I did not have the ability to do in the 38 years up to the point. Well, actually, the 35 years up to the point. When I met Kurt in 2012-ish, and really we met. You know, Kurt and Nancy Richardson are the founders of Otterbox, if you don't know. But he's a very entrepreneurial fella, and he's got you know, other entrepreneurial companies under an umbrella called Blue Ocean Enterprises. Otterbox is one of the biggest ones under that umbrella, and Old Elk is actually under that umbrella, as well as other ventures that he's interested in. And what Kurt likes to do is start you know, companies from the basement and build them up, and you know, in some cases he may sell them, other cases he may just hold on to them, and continue to grow them. But in any case, 10 years ago, Kurt and Nancy decided that they were interested in getting into the bourbon business. And really the first thing they did was look me up in Lawrenceburg, and we met. And what he wanted to do was, obviously he wanted me to produce whiskey for him as a contract distiller so that they could, build inventory and build mash bills so that they could, launch brands 4 or 5 years down the road. But what was unique about Kurt and Nancy is that when they came to me, they said they wanted custom mash bills. They didn't want the 4 or 5 staple mash bills that we were producing for many, many folks under many, many brands. And those mash bills were all excellent world-class whiskeys, obviously, and they were all really derivatives of Seagram mash bills that we had over probably 40, 50 years experience producing. So the quality of those products was terrific, but Kurt's DNA, which really transcends into Old Elk's DNA, is that he wants to be different than everybody else on the shelf, and he wants to bring world-class quality products to the table. So if you were going to do an elevator pitch for Old Elk, that would be the two things. We want to be different than everybody else, and we're going to bring you world-class quality products. And when I say that term, what that means to me, based on the training really that I achieved from Seagram's under that 24-year training program, is to me that means products that are free of quality defects. And whenever every part of the whiskey making process lends itself to quality defects. And one of the things that Seagram's learned through many, many years of experience was all the tried and true methods that you use to make world-class quality whiskey. So, they taught me all that, and that translates all the way through all of Old Elk products because I produce them for them. But in any case, they wanted me to produce custom mash bills rather than, mash bills that were similar to everything else on the shelf.
Right. And then kind of kicking it back a little bit, Shane Long from Storytime Distillery has a question for you. Sure. What drew you into distilling whiskey? Well, and I think I know the answer, but I want you to tell the story.
No, the truth of the matter is that it was, for lack of a better term, it was really pure dumb luck. In the spring of 1978, I was graduating from the University of Cincinnati. My background was chemical engineering, and actually, way back then, companies actually came to campus to recruit for positions that they had open at their facilities. As it was, Seagram's was on campus looking to fill spots at the Lawrenceburg distillery. And I said, wow, I was familiar with the distillery. I grew up in Cincinnati, so, it's something I was familiar with, but, relative to the nuts and bolts of the operation, I really had no clue. But in any event, I was fortunate. I went through the interview process. They offered me a job, and I think maybe 2 weeks later, I was walking through the gate of probably one of the largest distilleries in the world at that time. And, for me, it was, I'm a 23-year-old kid, and I'm going to work for a company that makes whiskey. And I think, wow, that's really pretty damn cool. And the fact of the matter is, 45 years later, it's still pretty damn cool.
Now, when that time frame was going on, Greg, was whiskey and bourbon and everything, was it still falling below vodka and all the specialty drinks on the sales and everything? Because I knew there was a period of time before it got popular again that everybody was pushing gin, vodka, and stuff like that.
No, when I hired in, we were probably in one of the, I'm going to say probably a bourbon peak, and then we went through, like you say, peaks and valleys. I hired in, obviously Seven Crown was a big brand still back in 1978, and that was going strong for Seagram's. We were producing other mash bills for a lot of their other whiskeys. as blending components. But we did, like you say, we went through a period where we did the, I think Seagram coolers probably snuck in there first. So, you know, the bourbon industry started to decline. The cooler industry got very popular for a period of years, and then that was followed by vodka and flavored vodkas, you know, so there's been several different trends throughout the, you know, the 45 years that I've been in the business. This bourbon boom that we've got going on now, that's probably been going on for I think 10 years already, is unlike anything that I would say that anybody that's been in the business like I have for as long as I have has probably ever witnessed. And there's really no signs of it really slowing down, which is pretty phenomenal and pretty exciting.
Do you see any issues? Because I know it's been talked about many times with other distilleries and even other whiskeys, you know, that we're going to have an oak issue and we're going to have a bottle issue, glass.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. You know more about it. I'd like to know if we need to be scared or we're going to be okay. Or,
well, I think it's just one of those. I think it's a supply chain issue, probably more than anything else. I think you know, we've been through barrel shortages probably on and off for at least the last 5 years. You know, some of that was related to weather, where the loggers, you know, couldn't get into the woods to harvest their trees, and that created a gap because, you know, by the time you harvest, you have to cut it up, then you have to air dry it for a period of time, and you know, and all that. So the minute you put a big gap into the system, it kind of shakes things up in a big way. And then you factor 2 years of COVID in there. I mean, that was like a 2-year gap in life. So you know, logistically, we're still suffering from the pains of, you know, breaking out of that bubble, which is probably has a lot to do with the glass issues that a lot of folks are having today. So, you know, it's been a very fast changing world in the last 5 years, and you know that there's definitely going to be a new norm. I would guarantee you that.
I've heard you say, you know, talking about a new norm and stuff like that. And that kind of leads me to this next question. I've heard you say multiple times, and I think this is just really cool. Explain what the DNA of Old Elk is.
Well, again, it's pretty straightforward. It's wanting to be different than everybody else on the shelf, and that's really reflected by our custom mash bills, and then bringing world-class quality products to the table. You know, I can't sit here and say that you're going to like our mash bills because they are entirely different than others out there on the shelf. But I can absolutely assure you from a quality perspective that they're as good or better than anybody else's out there. And again, I said it earlier, when I say world-class quality, to me, that means free of quality defects. So you are getting some of the best distillates that are possible in all of the Old Elk products.
Right. So was it yourself, or was it maybe the Richardsons? How did the label and the bottle and the beautiful cap cork come into play? How did that get designed?
Well, that was all really done in-house, actually. We have incredibly talented folks in that arena, and all of the packaging, all the labels, the bottles, the caps were actually really developed as a partnership with OtterBox. It's an injection molded cap, but it's actually a 3D printout sliver of an elk antler that is part of a 6-point bull mount that's in Old Elk's main office. And so they did a 3D scan of a sliver of elk, and then they made it a mold using OtterBox's technology, and then we're able, and then really partnered up with Old Elk OtterBox, I'm sorry, to produce those custom toppers that again are so much different than everything.
Oh man, it's awesome! I've got a silver and a gold, and I just think those are special.
So yeah, we just have really talented, visionary people in that arena that just do incredible work.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, I mean, it's just so, I've got a few little bottles here that I'm trying with you tonight, and since we're on the label thing, is this a label we're going to start to see more often, or are we going to still have some of these older ones still for a while? Or are we all going to these now?
No, the labels on what you're showing are basically sample bottle labels.
Okay.
So when you find or when you buy the double wheat or the 4-grain, it's going to be in a bottle with its own type of label that is going to be somewhat similar to what's on your back shelf there. So
okay,
they are beautiful bottles. It's a beautiful package, a beautiful label, and I'd like to say that the product in it is quite nice.
You can say it. I promise. There's a lot of people in this chat that are big fans. I'll promise you.
But those are going to be limited release editions, if you will.
Okay.
They're really not intended to compete with our 4 core category products, but they are intended to be enjoyed by the consumer on a limited basis. So we'll continue to launch those year after year on a limited basis.
Okay.
So they're not going to go away at the end of this year at all.
I tell you, the 4-grain, Greg, I poured it the other night just to try to get into it and see what I thought right off the shot, and there was an almond note that popped out, I thought, and then it like went into a vanilla, so it almost turned for me almost into like an almond vanilla ice cream.
No,
and I think it's really, really good on the nose.
There's a lot of neat stuff going on in there, and what makes it really cool is the 2 core custom mash bills that we blended to produce that 4-grain blend that you're tasting. And because those were such extreme custom mash bills relative to the grain ratios, I really had the latitude of creating a mash bill within a mash bill, if you will, by blending the 2 together. So the 4-grain, if you look on the label, I don't know that it's on those sample bottle labels, but when you buy a bottle in the store, the side label shows you what the composite grain ratios wind up being as a result of blending Old Elk bourbon and Old Elk wheated bourbon. And it's going to be somewhere in between what the Old Elk full scale bourbon mash bill is and the Old Elk wheated bourbon. So in the case of the 4-grain, the ratio winds up being 51% corn, so it's still a bourbon. 22.5% wheat, 19% barley, so you've still got a really nice kick. From a high barley content, and there's actually 7.5% rye in there. So you
see the rye on the finish is what does the lifting for me on this 4-grain. That's where I was over the top. I was like, man, that's got such an explosive finish. It's not really a hug; it just sits on the palate and rises. And I was like, man, that's special. I like that.
No, it's been a really fun project, and we'll continue to. We'll continue to develop more Master Series blends, but they'll be in addition to what we've already got. So they're not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. These bottles hit North Carolina. I'm in Raleigh, and these hit a lot of the ABC stores, and now they're gone. I mean, which is a pretty dadgum good sign if you ask me. But it sucks because I went back. After I cracked these samples, I was telling a couple of buddies that are in the chat, I said I went back and tried to find them and their history, which that's okay. Yeah. That means they'll be back and we'll get to them again some other time for me. But I'm just fortunate enough I'm getting an opportunity tonight to try them.
Well, we're getting ready to blend another batch of each here in the next probably next 2-3 weeks. So.
Okay.
So there'll be another series of those coming to the shelf. Probably, I'd say it probably takes 2 months to get to the shelf after we do the blend. So I'd say this fall you can be looking at seeing some more of those arrive.
Fantastic. Daniel H., a buddy of mine out of Texas, has a question. Well, really, is that something new that Old Elk is doing? Are these rye picks? Because I've seen the rye in the store with the old, with this label, but I've never seen it as a pick. And Daniel saw it, and we were talking about it today and yesterday. And are those rare? Are there people doing a lot of the rye picks right now?
They are rare because the inventory, or the age of that inventory that we want to bring to the table for those picks is very limited. So yeah, you're talking about single barrel picks.
Yeah,
in the rye. They're we are doing some of those this year, but offhand, I don't know how many barrels they allocated for the single barrel program this year, but they'll be much harder to get than the other three categories for our single barrel selections. And then
I gotta show it off, man. I've got to me a very special bottle. I've got batch 1.
Oh yeah.
Of the sour mash reserve.
Sour mash, yeah.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to get that. A store back where I came from in Tennessee had about 6 of them. And I was like, that's batch 1. Yeah, I'll take it. You know, it was a no-brainer. But that one's a special bottle. And I think I've seen batch 2 and batch 3 a couple other places, but that's a small batch. That's a special mix that's in that one.
They're like 30 barrel blends. So yeah. And
gosh, now was this small batch, Greg? Was this in your special bottle that came out last year? I can't remember the name of it now. Just my brain quits working. Was it the Infinity Blend, or what was it called?
Infinity Blend, yeah.
So yeah.
No, the sour mash is a brand extension of its own, if you will.
Okay.
So the really interesting part of the sour mash is that I crafted the Old Elk bourbon mash bill for Kurt and Nancy and Old Elk.
Right.
They wanted a product that was smooth and easy. That's the 2 terms they gave me to work with 10 years ago. So I built them that high malt barley mash bill, and produced about 8,000 or 9,000 barrels to that for them. But in the meantime, they actually took that same mash bill to 2 other craft distilleries, one in Colorado and one in Finger Lakes, New York. And they asked them to produce, I don't know, it was 600 or 800 barrels of the Old Elk mash bill using their methods and not mine. So the sour mash is actually the Old Elk bourbon mash bill I crafted, but it was produced by another master distiller in another distillery in Finger Lakes, New York. So what's cool about it, I think, is that, I didn't produce that product, but what's cool about it is because it's the same mash bill, it's interesting to compare that against the Old Elk bourbon that's in the bottle at 88 proof. That mash bill is the one I produced, and compare the sour mash against the 88 proof Old Elk, and you'll see differences in the product because they were produced in different regions. They were produced by different master distillers with different methods and in different yeast. So it's cool to see what using the exact same mash bill, what differences you can create by using different methods, if you will. So it's a really, for me, it was a really fun project. Just to witness, the flavor profiles between the two, and really based on the reaction of different geographies and different methods.
So, it's interesting because it goes to Storytime's questions. There it says, Greg, what's been your most prized batch, or I don't know. I don't know if Shane means, MGP wise or for Old Elk, but just whatever comes to mind. for you
Well,
that's like, oh boy, this is it?
It's becoming a more difficult task to make a choice all the time. But obviously, I'm very proud of the 4 grain and the double wheat. But I will tell you true that I don't know if you folks are familiar with the Metze Select blend that I put out. Oh my goodness, that must have been what? Yeah, gosh, memory served me. Probably 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Okay.
Anyway, that was brought out under the MGP umbrella before I left MGP to join Old Elk full time. But anyway, that was an incredibly good blend, Metze Select, and the Infinity blend is eclipses that again. So if I were gonna be forced to pick one, I'd say at this point I'm most proud of that 2021, 2022 Infinity blend. It was really just turned out incredibly well.
So will there be a, I guess, blend 2 or 3, or will that just be a one-time thing for Greg?
Oh, no.
Or
no?
Okay.
So
just want to make sure.
Actually, as we speak today, I started putting my barrel sample list together. So
okay,
I'm actually I've got my ideas. I've run some models, if you will. So I've got an idea of where I'm going. And now I've putting together my barrel sampling list, which I'll submit. I'll get samples of the select barrels I want to use, and I'll start making Infinity blends, and then I'll have to make a decision which one's going to be the one. But yeah, we'll have one done and probably ready to go. It'll probably be in market by the end of this year, early next year.
That's great. That's great. I was thinking, and we hear this some, but it's a very unique world when you are a master distiller or you run a distillery that is pretty mainstream or well known or whatever you want to call it. But talk about the relationships, Greg, if you can, about the relationships among these master distillers and these master blenders that from what I gather, it's a pretty little tight club. And everybody seems to be okay with each other. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but that just seems what the relationship status comes across to me.
Well, I have said this for many years, and it really, I think, has been reflected in my entire 45 years. Is that in the whiskey business, you're certainly competitors, but at the end of the day, you're also family. And I think the mentality amongst everybody in the whiskey business is that there's room for everybody. And I don't think anybody in the business thinks that they're necessarily the best. And I think it's, I don't know, it's a really, it's hard to describe it. It's more you experience it if you're in the business, but it's like your competitors and your family at the same time. And that's really the best way that I can sort of describe it, but I know full well that under the Seagram umbrella that we would have competitor distilleries that would get in trouble with a broken down still or whatever. Yeah. And if they didn't have the part and we did, we sent them the part.
See, that's special.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And that's things too that, being a whiskey lover like I am, and everybody in the chat that I know is, the variety that we have to choose from only makes other distilleries better, because you taste a profile, you can always say, oh, that reminds me of this. Then you want to go back to that.
Sure.
And then, oh my goodness, okay, yeah, this is here, this is, there. And next thing you know, you might even be blending some of this stuff together. Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just I find that tight-knit group pretty special.
No, I think it's very unique, actually. So
yeah. Well, I'm gonna try this double wheat. Let me get into this.
All right.
And then I'll see what you tell me about it, and then we'll learn from you on this one.
So I'll let you go first because
okay.
I think, well, I'll just let you go first.
That's fine. Well, talk about the mash bill while I sit here.
Sure. So the double wheat was created from Old Elk's wheated bourbon and Old Elk's wheated whiskey. So, I don't know that we've stated it tonight, but the Old Elk wheated bourbon mash bill is 51% corn. It's the minimum for a bourbon. It's 45% wheat, which is as much wheat as you can get in and still leave room for malt barley to get the conversion going. So from a wheated bourbon standpoint, it's extreme. It's like way higher than any other wheated bourbon on the shelf. Again, that Old Elk's DNA wanted to be different. And then we did used the same mentality with the wheat whiskey. So the wheat whiskey is a 95% wheat, 5% malt. I mean, it's all freaking wheat whiskey.
Yeah, there's more of a cinnamon note on the double wheat, I think. On the nose, anyway.
And I think, I'll just put it out there that
sure.
I think what's fun is that with Old Elk's wheat bourbon and wheat whiskey, because of their either low corn content or no corn content, I think you're actually likely to see flavors in Century maybe you haven't seen before. I think wheat brings some really light, milder notes to the table that are more times than not masked by the robust characteristics of higher corn contents in those mash bills. And by lowering the corn or taking the corn out altogether, I think you're likely to see things that maybe you haven't seen before that wheat brings to the table. It's fun.
That double wheat, it's got some weight on the palate. It's a very nice upfront cinnamon. There's a vanilla finish, kind of like what I was getting from the 4-grain a little bit. I tasted the 4-grain just a second ago, and I started to get more of that oatmeal sugar cookie on it the second time. But the double wheat right now is the hitter for me of the two. I don't know why. I like that smoother cinnamon palate that it has, but I don't know. You tell me what you think and how you got to this with these.
Well, here's the cool part. So the composite mash bill, if you will, winds up being 71.5% wheat.
Okay.
25% corn, and 3.5% barley. So it's really it's kind of an inverted wheat bourbon mash bill, if you will.
And then there's a rye difference.
Yeah, there's no rye in this one.
Yeah, in this one.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But
so now, how on the 4-grain, Greg, did you say, okay, we need a little rye spice? When you develop that, how did you say, okay, I'm just going to give it a shot, or?
I'm going to tell you true. My training, my organoleptic and sensory training, was really all about identifying quality defects in white distillates. So I cannot put a blend together and predict what the flavor notes are going to be. That was not in my training. Gotcha. But what I do is that I blend up different ratios of the blending components that I have to work with, and I know what flavors come from the different grains, obviously, and then I'll blend up different ratios of those, and then look at what the composite mash bill winds up being. And then I'll put all, I might do 4 or 5 different ratios with those blending components. And when I do them up front, I'm thinking, I think this one's going to be the home run just based on, what components of the grains are in there and what those components bring to the table. And
right.
Every instant, the one that I thought was going to be the one was not the one. And it's because
it's interesting.
And it's because components don't necessarily marry up together like you think they will. But in any case, so I put 5 to 6 7 different ratios on the table blind, and I go through them. And in every case, there's always been one that says, bam, that is so freaking good. And that's the one. And that's my methodology. I wish it was more technical or more scientific than that. But
no, I think what you got works. I think, I mean, what the hell am I going to tell somebody with 45 years experience in blending and distilling and being a master distiller? No, I'm not going to tell you nothing, but I can tell you this. I like these. I like them a lot, which leads me into one of my favorite, Greg, is the sherry finish.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to talk a little bit about, and Daniel H has a question. We'll get to it in just a second, but I want you to talk a little bit about once you start getting into the finishes. You know, there's time frames there that are critical, and there's places where you need to get these casks and barrels that are special. So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I have to give all that credit to Melinda Maddox. She's our head production person, distiller person out in Fort Collins.
Okay.
She has a highly acclaimed mixologist is her background, or part of her background. But in any case, when Old Elk, it's probably been a year and a half ago, decided that they wanted to dabble in the cast finish programs, Mel really took the lead on that whole program. So really all of the great products and success really is attributed to her. She is the one that's out there every day, every week, every month, sampling those barrels, making the determination, when they're ready. So, I obviously get to see the samples as well, but I am not on site at Fort Collins day in, day out like she is. And, she has to get the credit for that. But anyway, we decided that we were going to get into the cast finish series, and
oh God,
we were fortunate to acquire, a nice sampling of barrels in the 4 different categories. So we have a tawny port finish, we have a sherry or Oloroso sherry finish, we've got an Armagnac finish and a cognac finish. And again, it's more of an art form than it is a science form, and you have to be on site and evaluate those barrels. I would say at least monthly, if not weekly, when they start approaching, harvest.
So something like that, Greg. Let me ask you. I mean, does it matter if it's sherry, cognac, Armagnac, whichever that finish is? Does it matter? Because I know some places will just do 30 days. I see that a lot. So does it matter on each finish? The time frame is different.
Absolutely.
Okay,
that's an absolute. We've got the Armagnac and cognac.
Yeah.
Are slower to finish than the port and the sherries.
Wow.
Maybe because port puts a really nice punch in there, up front, and then as you get in, maybe I'd say almost all of our cast finish are probably in the 6 to 8 month range. So we're well beyond 30 days, and Mel has actually seen through her century sampling where you think they're peaking and they're ready to harvest, and the next week they take a dip, and then they'll come back again. So she has fine-tuned that harvesting strategy.
So what you've learned from her, Greg, is the Armagnac and cognac the hardest two to finish?
In my opinion, they are, yes.
Because they're so time sensitive, and it can be over. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
God, I love this. This sherry is. I thank you, Greg McDonald, for this bottle, because it is absolutely a jewel. So in 2022, 2023, do we have maybe some other finishes coming out you can talk about? Or are we just going to keep with these great ones, or is it top secret?
I'd say one thing about Old Elk is we're always going to be progressive.
That's
you
good
can
answer.
take that to the bank. I would look forward to some rum finished, cask finished barrels coming soon. I'm working on Infinity Blend 2023 as we speak, and I've got a ideas for the next Master Series blend. Might be a double rye, so I haven't got there yet, but I would say don't rule it out. And beyond that, we'll see if something comes to the table, or we have a nice group of customers that think they want to see something. Old Elk is very good about pulling the trigger and trying to.
Well, that's kind of like what Daniel H. said right here. Listen to Greg talk makes me want to go buy the entire line of bottles. Yeah, no kidding. I've started the best I can, and I tell you what, Greg, one of the things I've got multiples of are the single barrel program stuff.
Oh yeah,
I've got a lot of barrel picks, and man, they're just so good and different. I love putting them beside each other. I think they're very special. I want you to talk about a little bit before time gets away from us, because we're about 45 minutes in almost, the high energy, low energy thing.
Okay.
Because that's very unique, and a lot of people have never heard about that. And I've seen you talk about it, and I'm like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah. So you're talking about our slow cut process.
Absolutely.
Which we utilize on all our mash bills, on anything that we cut from barrel proof to bottling proof. We utilize the slow cut proofing process. Now, I will say that we did not invent that process. We learned it from Nancy Farley, who is a remarkable, person in the business. So we really heard about it through one of Nancy's seminars. But what we did is we sort of created our own at Old Elk, and we utilize that for all of our cutting processes. But the nuts and bolts of the theory behind it is that whenever you reduce proof from barrel proof to bottling proof, you're going from a higher energy state to a lower energy state. And when you do that, you liberate heat. It's an actual reaction. So it's a heat liberating reaction. When you add the water, you liberate heat back into your product.
Okay.
And when you do that all in one big step, like most folks do, you're liberating all that heat into the product all at once. And that can actually be enough to drive off some of the really delicate, high volatile congeners that you work so hard to produce. So what we do to help save or preserve some of those highly volatile flavor components in there is rather do it in one big step, we do it in multiple steps, so that every time you add water, you incrementally add much smaller amounts of heat than if you were to do it all at once. And by doing it in many small steps, the amount of heat that's going into your product at each given step is small, and it has less of an effect relative to boiling off or driving off the really highly volatile flavor components in there that would be like acid aldehydes and ethyl acetates that boil at a much lower temperature than ethyl alcohol. Those are the first thing that come off in the distillation are it's all based on boiling points. So what it means to us, at least what it means to the effect on our products is I'll use a woodworking term. It would be like routing the edge of a table. So you just kind of smooth a rough corner, and it just adds a little bit of integrity and a little more balance to your product. Takes the edge off, if you will.
Wow. I mean, that's Nancy's. I mean, she's from over in Southwest Virginia where my old roots are. And so I claim her as kin.
Oh yeah.
Even though we're probably nowhere close. I just, like to say that, but
she's the best in the business.
So
one of the best for sure.
Shane from Storytime Distilling has a question. Do you have a preferred cooperage that you've used through the past?
We whenever we can, have stuck with either Speyside or Independent Stave. They probably both one of the top in the business, and they're very traditional coopers. So I'm a very traditional master distiller, if you will. So we use number 4 char in the sides and number 2 on the heads. A very traditional char level in the whiskey bourbon business. But yeah, we like those 2 coopers. They're I think they're the best in the business.
I think it's like right before we went live, we talked a little bit and got to know each other. But I think Daniel had a question earlier about which is harder to distill, wheat or rye. So and then it's one of them, like maybe even easier to clean up after you're done. Hell, who knows?
Really, the distilling part is pretty easy. The fermentation part, however, is brutal. So, the Old Elk rye whiskey mash bill is not a custom mash bill, but it's a 95% rye, 5% malt, and that's the mash bill we made famous in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And it took, I would say, it probably took us 40 years to perfect that mash bill, and we really probably perfected it in its entirety probably around 2008. Anyway, rye has in the grain has components in it that are not fermentable, so they don't really add to your yield any, but they create a very viscous mash which has a high propensity to foam. Wheat has similar characteristics. So wheat and rye, from a fermentation standpoint, are incredibly hard to do unless you use the methods that we learned under the Seagram umbrella and the type of tertiary enzymes that you can use to help break that mash viscosity, which also helps break that foaming characteristic. So yeah, I think the rye has always been one of my favorites to distill and mash, mainly because from a technical aspect, it's incredibly hard to do and have the quality come out the way you expect it to. It's hard. Most people can't do it and do it right.
Okay, here's a question. I know you've had it before, but I find it interesting, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and it's awkward. So Greg Metze is going into a restaurant or a bar, and he looks up there and he's like, "Yep, I made that one. Yeah, I made that one. Probably made that one. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I did make that one. Okay, but you don't see Old Elk. Do you just order a damn beer, or do you drink something else?"
Well, beer is a big part of my diet on after hours. I'll have to be upfront about that one. But no, I think. Are
you a craft beer guy? Do you like craft beers?
You'll probably hate me, but Coors Light's my go-to.
That's right. Miller Lite's mine, so it's it's okay. I got
a few bricks in the wall down there in Golden. But in any case, when it comes to ordering a whiskey, I'd say, obviously I'm going to be loyal to Old Elk. And
sure.
I'm very proud of the products because they are unlike everybody else's on the shelf. So if I was to order something else, it would wind up being the norm. So it wouldn't be a reflection of Old Elk storyline.
Right.
And that's tried and true. But if I went to a restaurant and wanted a really nice bourbon and Old Elk wasn't there, my next go-to would probably be a Four Roses product. Yeah. And that's because Four Roses was a sister plant to the Lawrenceburg plant under the Seagram umbrella. And they used all the tried and true methods that Seagram's taught me to be a master distiller. So I know, unless they've changed those processes, which I'm sure they haven't, they are using all of the methods that Seagram's taught me to produce world-class quality products. So if I were going to pick a product outside of Old Elk, I would pick a Four Roses, because I would be highly assured that it's going to be a world-class quality product, because they use the methods that I was taught.
Right, right. Now, I was fortunate enough. I've gotten to go there and do a pick at Four Roses, and just super classy people, and the whole thing, the experience. There were 6 of us, I think, and we never were rushed. It was just, you know, let's do this, let's talk about it. It worked out really well. Storytime Distilleries here does a lot of great barrel picks, you know, so Shane knows a whole lot more about that than I do. But, you know, it's interesting to learn about wheat, because wheated stuff is to me now getting better and better on my palate. And I feel like when I taste these things, I can pick out notes that I couldn't maybe a year ago. You know, like I said, I get a lot of cinnamon. I get a lot of like a nut stuff, little vanilla, and hell, it's perfect. It's really interesting to me that those, to me, seem more dominant with wheat. And I enjoy that. And, you know, I think as these products continue to come out, I will definitely keep getting them and trying them. But guys, we've got, I think, about 8 minutes left. I posted the link. If anybody wants to jump in and ask Greg a quick question before we head out, you're welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, you know, you've got one of the best in the world right here, guys. So take advantage of it. And like I said, we're doing that giveaway for the straight wheat whiskey. So get on it. We've got a few minutes left, and Daniel H. will pick a number. So 4, 8, 12. We got 24 entries, guys. You got a pretty damn good shot, so get on it. But anyway, this sherry finish, Greg, might be, it's very close. It might be my favorite bottle compared to the double wheat. And I didn't have a chance to get the Infinity Blend. It was here, and when I was in Tennessee, it was there and gone before I could ever turn around and, you know, see it.
Well, the beauty of it is that you can have more than one favorite. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, you know what? I'll take you. I guess that makes sense. Now, do you have a favorite of the finishes?
My favorite, I would say, is the port. I just think it comes across to me as like a really rich dessert drink, something that would be like a smash hit at the end of Thanksgiving dinner. It's just rich, and it's heavy. You know, I don't know. It's of the 4 that's my favorite. Yes. When
you say heavy, it sits on your palate with a little oil, little weight, as I like to call it,
I don't know,
or not really
about the oil part, but it's just like really rich. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's almost like eating I'm not saying the flavor characteristics are like that, but if you eat a big piece of dark chocolate pie, that's the way the tawny port finish kind of hits me. It's loaded with flavor.
Right. Well, that's good. Well, I tell you what, man, let's give somebody a great bottle here. Greg, if you would pick me a number between 1 and 20.
1 and 20. 14.
14, Daniel. Who's lucky 14? Let's see here. Somebody's going to get them a great straight wheat whiskey. Let's see here.
Got to be questions out there. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Come on, guys.
No bad questions.
That's right. Shane, I think, had another one. If I didn't miss it. Alan, the whiskey friend, another great channel over in Europe. Greg, I've never tried an Old Elk. However, is there a similar bourbon that I might have tried?
Doubtful.
Yeah.
Those mash bills are so different than anything else on the shelf that it's unlikely.
The Moose, Alex. Cheers, buddy. We'll get that bottle to you, man. Congratulations, Alex. Thanks for donating. Guys, everybody that got in on this giveaway, thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping. That's awesome. But yeah. So I guess, Alan, another thing is fine. You know, it's weeded, but it's like Greg says, it's completely different. You know, these I think that one of the great Old Elk profiles is the back ends of Old Elk. I think have such a nice rise finish that makes them unique. So, like, I think that's why I like the sherry so much, Greg. Is it just flows at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of like the one you said. It's an easy sipper. So, oh, Shane's got a good one here.
All right.
Favorite bottle that you didn't distill?
Oh boy.
Four Roses.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would be. It'd be something out of the Four Roses arena.
Yeah. See, I actually paid attention for a few minutes, so you got to give me credit there for that.
Yeah.
But you know what, Greg? We've been almost an hour. I just want to tell you, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend it with little old nobody like me. But as you can see, I'm a big fan, and there's a lot of people in the chat here that really support Old Elk, and we're just grateful for all your 45 plus years now in the business and keep giving us great whiskey. So I just want to say thank you.
No, I want to thank you back, because I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks, because we had a little tough time getting it scheduled. But
yeah, well, I'm kind of a big deal, so hey.
No, it's always fun, and it's always a pleasure to hang out with folks that enjoy whiskey. They're passionate about it and knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, man. And tell Colin thank you for all the emails and all the things he's done for us and other channels as well. So here's a cheers to Colin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate the getting in on the giveaway. Greg, guys, check them out. Old Elk. Check out the website. You can see all the releases that are coming. If you got any questions about the products, email me at whiskeyknows21@gmail.com. I will get you answers.
Definitely.
I know Colin. I can get to him and Greg and find out what's going on. So, anyway, Chris, I hope you're feeling better, man. Recovering. Oh, the Moose. I see. Sorry, Moose. I hope you're feeling better. Moose is up in Canada, so I hope you're feeling better. And he's trying to move and get settled. But, yeah, Independent Joe, thank you for dropping the links tonight, man. I really do appreciate it. Guys, head over to Scott, My Bourbon Journey. He follows me. And then 21090, and Greg's been there too. They'll round out the Tuesday night triple header. Cool. So, guys, get over there. And, Greg, thanks again, man.
All right,
I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was fun. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Joe, hang on, buddy.